In the forest on a dark night, there was a large insect lurking behind a tree. A wild boar was seen running alone in fear. Why? Because the big creepy bug was chasing him through the trees. With lightning speed. Boom! Before he knew it, the bug caught the boar so quickly. It tore the boar to shreds so brutally. This bug was like a nightmare. Big, agile, and those claws. Deadly. But don't worry. In this forest, there are always bigger predators. Like this group of hunters who were already on the scene, ready to take it down. They fought, and guess what? The hunters scored a huge victory. The insect was roasted, lying at their feet. To the cheers of thousands of people watching on the screen, the Heavenly Knights had succeeded, defeating the classed as giant locust. Human, 1, monster, 0. This time the game score is finally stable, said the man in the white robe while fixing his glasses seriously. But wait a minute, this is not a fairy tale world. As we can see, this is a big game and different from other games. This game is based on the real world. Yes, it's a game, but with a twist, it's connected to the real world. 20 years ago, portals to fantasy worlds started popping up everywhere. Imagine magical creatures and spells straight out of a book. They called this world the forest. After humans did some speculative exploration, and they came to the conclusion that although the forest was dangerous, it could not directly interact with the real world. In other words, nothing from the forest can pass through the portal. Only the magic items and abilities obtained by the explorers can enter and exit the portal. Until eventually the technology company Shenchuan took ownership of the forest and used technology that only the Shenwan company could know when entering. With their technology, they turned it into a huge game called Survival in the Apocalypse. People flocked to sign up, became knights and plunged into the challenge of surviving another world. Even with death lurking, people who were bored with everyday life jumped in to experience the thrill. They are not even daunted by the risk of dying forever. Today, most people have visited other worlds, and some wealthy people even hire adventurers to explore them. This was more than just a game, it was a masterpiece. And that man is Lin Tan, one of the creators of this work of art. But not everyone was happy with Lin Tan's moves. There was a man who walked into the office and faced a crowd of people. The man was carrying a letter. He looked like he was about to approach Lin Tan. It was true that the man was angry with Lin Tan because he had changed the mustard data in the game without permission. This man is Lu Daolong, one of the important people who is directly related to the top brass of the company, and a high-level player. Lin Tan's adjustment was apparently not approved by the company. Lin Tan knew that he had messed up by not giving the green light first, but he did it to keep the game fair. The recent chaos had messed things up, and he had to act. But Lu Daolong was unwilling to do so. He arrests Lin Chan, demanding to know who authorized him to mess with the company's plans. Lin Chan wouldn't back down. He's in charge of the game's content, and if they mess with his changes, who knows what will happen. Lu Daolong realized that Lin Chan wouldn't back down, so he shifted gears. He emphasized that everything depended on him, and he didn't want any excuses. He wants results, clear and simple. Then, if he didn't get what he wanted, everyone would be out of a job. That didn't sit well with the others, as they also risked being fired. The other employees were very emotional. They had already been to try to air their grievances, reminding Lin Tan that he should play by the rules and not misbehave. They thought he was acting as if he was the boss, adding to their workload. Lu Daolong hinted that if Lin Chan didn't like it, he could quit. Lin Chan couldn't understand their attitude. Their goal was not to make a game that everyone could enjoy. That was against his principles. However, just as he was about to speak, someone interrupted him. It was Lu Yu, a beautiful girl with a sexy appearance, trying to calm him down, urging him not to act rashly. Seeing her, Lin Chan calmed down and postponed the conflict. Lin Chan was in a bind. He was drowning in debt, and this job was his lifeline. But he also wondered if it was safe to keep working for the company. He needed time to think. Lu Daolong didn't push him, but he explained that Lin Chan had to make a decision. Lin Chan needs to know his identity and the reason why the company's boss came to him, and he needs to think again to avoid doing things he shouldn't do. Later, Lin Chan and Lu Yu sat on a park bench and chatted. She thanked him for his advice, because Lin Chan's advice and help had saved her job, because Lu Yu was worried that Lin Chan's dispute with the company might backfire. After all, the company has been utilizing the forest to exterminate its opponents in the real world. It's really dangerous for senior Lin Chan, who often goes in and out of the forest like this. Lin Chan agreed, Realizing that he might be on ice, he promised to handle it. Lu Yu smiled, relieved. When Lu Yu returned to the office, Lin Tian couldn't take his eyes off her. Lu Yu was the only friend in his company that Lin Tian could talk to. She was his only confidant in the company, a bright spot in his gloomy world. Lin Tian couldn't just let her go. He knew it was risky, but he had to warn her about the changes that were coming. He had to be careful. Immediately, he called out to Lu Yu as she was walking away from him. Lin Tian told her the company and the world were about to undergo great changes, so be careful. Lin Tian vowed to protect her and promised to do his best for Lu Yu. Lu Yu's response was more than words. She kissed her senior on the cheek. Lu Yu tells him that she trusts him. Whatever lies ahead, she hopes he will take care of her. It turns out that Lin Tian has learned a secret hidden by the company that can change the whole world. He discovered it by accident. Lin Tian knew that leaving the company would be risky. Not just because of the debt collectors, but because the company might consider him a threat. He was already in too deep to bail out now. To survive, he had to be prepared because they could attack him at any time. At the same time, the 76th Shenzhuang project meeting was taking place in the conference room. One of the higher-ups divulges important information. The forest is expanding, which means a big event is imminent. But there was one hitch, no sign of the Lord of the Forest they were expecting. Liu Daolong chimed in, saying that Lin Tian, the game developer, kept rejecting their offer, smelling something was wrong. Other participants in the meeting confirmed that Lin Tian had learned the secrets of the forest. Someone suggested that they should kill him immediately. Such secrets could destroy the world, and ordinary people shouldn't know. They recognized Lion as the talented software engineer they got by burying his family in debt. Since it was Liu Daolong who had come up with the idea, he was assigned to handle it. The man suggested killing Lin Tian in the forest because it was easy. Just lure Lin Tian into the forest and bring him out lifeless. No risk, no problem. Liu Daolong happily wanted to do it, as he had been waiting for this opportunity. Then the sounds of battle echoed from within the forest. Finally, the atmosphere calmed down, and Lin Tian and Lu Yu appeared among the corpses. Liu Daolong sneered at the clothes Lin Tian was wearing, not expecting him to use his game facilities to dress himself up. He also didn't anticipate his knights being hit. He was curious when Lin Tian started preparing, but that wasn't important now. Liu Daolong grinned, then bam! A sword pierced Lin Tian's chest. As it turned out, Lu Yu, his trusted ally, was a traitor. Lin Tian looked disappointed before he fainted. He was so shocked and couldn't believe that his closest person betrayed him. 10 years ago, Shenquang Technology discovered that the jungle had encroached on Earth and humans must coexist with it. However, it's not that simple. The jungle continues to expand, and within a decade, it will swallow the Earth, meaning the future of humans will be living in the jungle completely. Lin Tian, one of the architects of this game, knows the truth despite the management's cover-up. He knew too much about the company's secrets, so he was taken prisoner by the company. He prepared himself and defeated them, but Lu Yu betrayed him. It was unexpected that the person she trusted could do such a terrible thing to her. Lu Yu pulled Lin Tian. She revealed that her life had been arranged, from the death of her parents to her debts. He will ensure the company's plan, even if it fails. Lu Yu tells her that it was all done just for the sake of Lin Tian's extraordinary talent in game development. So the company had to find a way. Lu Yu was just the final piece of the plan. But you see, ability and skill can backfire, said Lu Yu with a smile as he watched his senior bulkhead. Lin Tian felt the sting of betrayal. Liu Daolong interrupted the two of them, saying that their mission was to kill Lin Tian, but they didn't have to lift a finger. They left him in the forest. Ironic. Liu Daolong wanted Lin Tian to die at the hands of the monsters he made himself, so tragic. As they walked away, leaving Lin Tian as the monster's meal, they disappeared into the portal. Lin Tian alone and resigned to his fate, our hero prepared for the end. He was too tired to put up a fight. It seemed like he was already helpless. But then, a system message appeared in his fading consciousness. A major threat to his life had triggered an emergency. The jungle system kicked in. In an instant, the jungle lord's identity was downloaded into him. Success. Our hero reincarnated as a level 1 praying mantis. The system registered his skills. Flash, an active skill, and jungle instinct, a passive skill. Not bad. A bright light illuminated the clearing, and Lin Tian finally opened his eyes. He looked differently at the evidence of his success. Everything looked different because, well, he wasn't human anymore. But that was the least of his worries. He was very happy that he had deceived his company. They thought his armor was his ace, but his new form was the real ace. When people gathered in the forest, they discovered that there was a powerful creature in the Forest King. Although it has been missing for some time, the records they found are proof of the existence of a Forest King that is feared by every race because of its extraordinary level of power. According to research, the place was once ruled by the mighty Lord of the Forest. Although he has long since disappeared, the fear he instilled remains. The power of master-class creatures persisted after death, posing a threat to their game. Lu Daolong stepped forward to solve this problem. He wanted to eliminate the threat completely. Lin Qian, who was also on the team, claimed that they had no clues. If he found anything, he would report it immediately, or so he told the company. In reality, it was his escape plan. The power they were hunting for was now hers, paired with a jungle system that would make her even stronger. Her first mission, survival. The jungle monsters were on the hunt, and he was their prey. It was easy to survive and get 1,000 jungle points. Lin Qian was no stranger to jungle adventures. Now in the dark forest, spectral wolves swarmed him. But thanks to jungle instinct, he could dodge their attacks with ease. Spectral wolves were small, their numbers were their strength. However, Lin Qian had nothing to worry about. His flash skills allowed him to dart and strike at lightning speed. Jungle instinct kept him on track. The combination of his skills was a slam dunk, with her knowledge of the jungle being quite good, making Lin Qian not so difficult to fight utilizing everything in the forest. One of them is the man-eating flower, which is only active when triggered by external stimulation, and if it is entangled, it is difficult to escape. Lin Qian moves freely with his new form. Killing monsters is not a difficult thing for Lin Qian with his condition, who is now the ruler of the forest. But after the fight, he realized that his stamina was running low. However, he managed to reach level 3 thanks to the plants and monsters he fought. Tired, of course, but she felt more at home in the forest than in the human world. Due to Lin Qian's daydreaming, he missed the mission update from the system. No message from the system meant one thing: the threat had not disappeared. Later, Lin Qian realized that he had let his guard down. His jungle instincts sounded the alarm. A wolf lurked nearby, waiting to pounce. Is it possible? The atmosphere began to turn tense. A cunning move, catching even a seasoned professional like Lin Qian off guard. But this wolf was no ordinary predator. This was a 6th-level spectral lord wolf. Couldn't blame Lin Qian entirely for letting his guard down in the middle of the battle. The possibility of a high-level lord appearing was very small. He couldn't have predicted this. Although he was reborn as the king of the forest, he was only level 3 now. The gap in their levels was so shocking that just standing here could already feel his aura. Lin Qian tried to strategize, but the wolf wasted no time in attacking. Dodging was the only move he could make, but his stamina was draining fast. The wolf's relentless attack landed squarely on Lin Qian's body, and Lin Qian winced in pain. The wolf was a beast, fast and ferocious. In the past, he could handle it without breaking a sweat, but now, even a level 6 monster was a real threat. For now, at least, he needed time to regroup his strength. But the wolf didn't stop to attack him, leaving Lin Qian no room to breathe. Parrying was not an option. Things looked bleak. He realized that he would die if he didn't act quickly. What a terrifying experience. But he wasn't ready to give up yet. She had survived the company's schemes, outsmarted them, and been reborn as the ruler of the forest. Giving up now felt like an exercise in futility. His memories and anger fueled his will to live. It wasn't the company that irritated him the most. He had known they would try to kill him from the start. But when it was Lu Yu, the person he had mentored and trusted, she had helped him countless times, patiently guiding him through the intricacies of the forest. The betrayal was very painful. He tried to live on, as this was his only way to take revenge on all of them, including Lu Yu. The forest was an unpredictable place. She couldn't predict everything, and that was what hurt the most. Survival was his top priority now, all for the sake of revenge. Without a second thought, Lin Qian's wings began to flap. Escaping was his only chance. So he wasted no time in spreading his wings, which weren't just for decoration. He quickly turned around and used them to run with his remaining strength. In an instant, he covered quite a distance, seemingly shaking the spectral wolf lord. However, was it that easy? Not by a long shot. Although the wolf was lagging behind, that did not mean defeat. In an instant, It activated its blood-tracking ability, tracking Lin Chan's every move. Lin Chan knew he couldn't escape the wolf easily. His brain whirred, trying to devise a plan. None of his usual tricks would work against a level 6 opponent. Then a tree loomed ahead. Lin Chan saw an opening and took advantage of it. In a split second, he leaped into the air. His goal wasn't to fly. He hadn't mastered that yet. Instead, he aimed for the tree, climbing it with all his might. Both mentally and physically, Lin Chan endured desperately. He had done everything he could. Now, all he could do was hope. The wolf gave chase and ran over. But Lin Chan had one last trick up his sleeve, Stalagmite Bear Ruler Level S. As the bear became the center of attention, Lin Chan took the opportunity and ran. For the first time in a long time, he breathed a sigh of relief. Below, the giants were fighting. But Lin Chan knew he couldn't survive. He would probably be dragged back into the fight, and he was in no shape to face those heavyweight fighters. However, true protagonists don't shy away from the impossible. The system seemed to agree, telling him that if he escaped from that place, the mission had failed. As he escaped, the mission crossed his mind. He thought the bear wouldn't be part of the mission. So, with the wolf out of the picture, he had nothing to worry about. And true to his prediction, the bear emerged victorious. The system beeped, signaling the mission was complete. Along with the promised forest points, it unlocked his skill bar. Now, he could upgrade his skills using those points, just like in the old system. Lin Chan was intrigued by the skill bar. As Lin Chan had expected, the Nether Wolf King was soundly defeated by the bear. When he checked, he found various skill categories. First were basic skills, such as installing poison, stealth, invisibility, and flight, all at quite affordable prices. Then there were advanced skills, where he saw Monster's Will at a price of 1,000 jungle points. This skill can summon the jungle lord's will to scare monsters, but there is a condition. The stronger the effect, the higher the risk of losing the will. As for the level A and S categories, they are currently empty. The system store is not up and running yet. This was all quite exciting for Lin Chan, who decided to find a safe place and dive into everything. However, just as luck was not on his side, things again did not go as planned. After confronting the wolf, the bear was not willing to give up. It rushed up the tree, determined to finish him off. With no other options in sight, Lin Chan ran. There was no time to waste. He darted through the trees, hoping to outrun the bear. But the beast didn't give up, no matter how fast Lin Chan moved. What made it worse was that he only had one life. One hit from the bear would make the game over. His only hope lay in the skills he could gain with jungle points. He couldn't hesitate. His opponent was proving to be more of a headache than expected. Poison attacks were useless against the bear's strong hide. Stealth could not be used against the perception of earth attributes. As for flying, it seemed useless before, but now, that was what he needed to escape. Unfortunately, the bear had damaged his wings, thus rendering the skill useless. Suddenly, the bear split the tree into two with ease. Lin Chan had to act fast. With his stamina dwindling, he could feel death approaching. All that was left for him was his last resort, Monster Will. In an instant, the skill was mastered. Just then, under the moonlight, Lin Chan appeared before his opponent. At that moment, Lin Chan had no choice but to attack or shut up and die. With lightning speed, Lin Chan unleashed a barrage of 99 lightning skills, piercing the bear with flashes of light. The victory was hard-earned, but it was his. However, as the system had warned, victory came at a cost. Excruciating pain radiated throughout Lin Chan's body, bringing him to his knees. This wasn't just a system restriction. This was something much more serious. The remnants of the Jungle Lord's consciousness were struggling to get his life under control. Meanwhile, back at Shanwang Technology Company, the criminals, who thought they had seen the last of Lin Chan, held a meeting with the management. Lai Daolong reported that Lin Chan had met his end in the forest, paving the way for Lu Yu to take over his role in developing apocalypse survival. The company director had high hopes for Lu Yu, urging her not to disappoint. However, he was particularly interested in any updates on the Jungle Lord. Lu Yu shared insights from her previous research, explaining that the high-level monsters in the history of the jungle were called masters. Despite being killed, their will and power remained in some form, which could potentially be passed on to other creatures in some sort of reincarnation. However, the hare risked being controlled by the will of the previous forest master, becoming a puppet without consciousness, allowing the ancient master to rule once more. A board member voiced his concern over the dangers of seeking this power, warning of a very risky problem. However, the director had a different view. He recognized the dangers but saw the potential benefits. Controlling this power is essential if humanity is to venture into the jungle. He encouraged taking risks for the sake of potential rewards. Liu Yu respectfully assured his commitment to the task, promising to find the power of the Lord of the Forest. Meanwhile, in the forest, Lin Qin grappled with the spirit of the previous jungle lord, his screams echoing out. Lin Tian struggled to hold back his consciousness from the jungle lord's attack. He refused to give up and continued to endure excruciating pain. Lin Tian felt his brain and mind begin to be overpowered. Lin Qian, however, had the strength fueled by a fierce determination to seek revenge against those who had wronged him. His determination proved enough to confront and drive away the Forest Lord's spirit, culminating in a powerful release of energy. It was as painful as having one's life forcibly taken away. But Lin Tian's efforts were not in vain. Behind the smoke, he had survived. Despite winning, Lin Tian suffered significant spiritual damage. Although Lin Tian had changed form and evolved into a new monster, he still tried to retain his human nature and character. He realized the need for the Helen Butterfly Elf program to fortify his soul, in case he ever turned into a full-fledged monster. Helen Butterfly Elves are a race of elves with light attributes in the forest. They have excellent auxiliary skills. Lin Qian had proposed this program years ago, but faced resistance from the management, especially Liu Daolong. Despite the objections, Lin Tian remained firm, emphasizing the importance of elves as guide NPCs. The director supported Lin Tian's decision and advised Liu Daolong to focus on his duties rather than debating Lin Tian's choice. This game doesn't have a creature that can serve as a guide NPC, so it would be nice if Helen Butterfly Elf was used as a companion in the game. Complaining from Liu Daolong's mouth, he thought this design was not important. The holographic man stopped their debate, and he asked Lin Tian to take responsibility for the decision he had made and take responsibility for this game. And Liu Daolong, as the person in charge of combat and risk management, disagreed with Lin Tian's opinion. If he didn't want to do this, he should choose other workers. So Liu Daolong decided to leave the mission to Lu Feng from the second team. He was sure Lu Feng would handle it well. After all, he enjoyed this kind of mission. Now, Lin Tian had to act fast. Helen Butterfly Elf's powers could increase his spiritual strength, potentially unlocking unlimited potential for his monster will. Lin Tian originally wanted the company's support to open the gateway to the Helen Butterfly Elf. However, the task had now been handed over to Lu Feng, and Lin Tian regretted that Liu Daolong didn't take this mission seriously enough to follow through. It's a pity that Liu Daolong didn't keep this task, which could have been very useful. If Lin Tian didn't remember correctly, Lu Feng was from the second team and was an experienced and skilled jungle player and explorer, but he was also one of the people who often targeted him when he was in the jungle. If Lin Tian suddenly met him and dealt with Lu Feng, the question was rather difficult for him. Therefore, she had to find a way to unlock other skills first, before meeting other opponents. Since Lu Feng had already been assigned to this task, he was probably already somewhere out there. Lin Tian had to prepare well to deal with him. He should first unlock other general skills to earn points for evolution. His next major mission was perfect for it, protecting the forest. As the Forest King, it was his duty to repel intruders and defend the various clans in the forest. This long-term mission has several sub-missions that offer different rewards. Completing the main mission can unlock the BL skill panel and monster mode, while simpler daily missions award only 50 or 100 jungle points. For example, daily missions might involve tasks such as being friendly and helping weak mushroom clans to rebuild their strongholds or mediating disputes between various forest factions. Lin Qian realized that some missions were very easy, but the rewards were not so significant. She was more interested in the main missions, which offered exciting rewards such as unlocking monster modes. So he decided to start by completing some daily missions to unlock some skills that could save lives. Lin Tian helped the Mushroom Clan in construction. The herbs were so happy that they politely invited Lin Tian to taste their unusual poop, and earned 50 forest points. In the Wild Spider, he dodged an attack from a flirtatious and aggressive female spider monster, after which he earned another 100 points. Next, he protected a bird egg from a venomous snake monster, while fending off an attack from a pecking baby buzzard. Exhausted, he finally accumulated 700 points to unlock a skill. Now faced with the choice between attaching poison to his attacks and the second option of becoming invisible, so as to become invisible when making attacks, or the third option of flying at high speed, Lin Chen had to decide which would benefit him the most. In addition to choosing skills, Lin Chen also received a new mission, intruder hunting. This mission involved hunting human players from outside the forest to assert his authority as the Lord of the Forest. The rewards were lucrative, and this mission also unlocked the shop feature. Lin Chen realized that hunting intruders meant targeting human players, but at this time he was more focused on unlocking the shop feature. This was actually an important character function, so he could use jungle points for more than just skills. Lin Chen looked very excited. Now it was time to be ready to embark on the monster path, to abandon his human identity as a human and become a true jungle lord. As he pondered his next move, the forest came alive with the sounds of battle in the distance. It seemed to be a battle that attracted quite a bit of attention. There came a group of young people who said that they were in the territory of the Insectoid tribe, but this place was not as scary as what they had heard from other people's stories. But apparently they had just arrived at the Helentropic entrance. They ganged up on the poor goblin, hoping to find the entrance to the labyrinth. Reportedly, if you manage to enter there and get the secret key from the center, and you can access the real Butterfly Fairy Helen's territory. They managed to defeat one goblin, but that didn't scare them as much as they thought it would. What excited them was what they might find in the body tree realm. Reportedly, it was an amazing place filled with secrets and mysteries. They had seen an advertisement on a forum that promised a huge reward for cracking the code and getting the key. They thought it would be difficult, but when they arrived at the entrance and only encountered a few low-level monsters, they thought it would be a piece of cake. It turns out that their little adventure wasn't as safe as they thought. Out of nowhere, an arrow sped towards them and took out two of their leaders who were casually chatting, and blood splattered everywhere. The rest of the gang was reeling, shocked by the sudden attack, and guess who did it? A goblin with a bow and an evil grin, and they weren't alone. There were tons of them. A few goblins weren't much of a problem, but against hundreds of armed goblins, it was a game they couldn't expect. The hunters put up a fight, but it was pretty clear how the game would end. The goblins ran down the cliff, preparing to attack the hunters. One of the goblins' ways to defend their territory was to collect souvenirs from the fallen hunters. However, the goblins' small victory was short-lived. They found themselves trapped in a fiery ring, with no way out. This isn't just ordinary magic, this is real magic. And their opponents? They weren't a bunch of know-nothings, they were professionals. Apparently the boy hunters were led by Berserker Lu Feng and level 12 magician Sarah, as well as level 13 archer Cheng Ji. They came here to carry out a mission from the game headquarters. It turns out that the novice boys were only used as bait to lure the goblins out, and they easily trapped them. And now that the goblins are gathered, it's time to finish the job. An arrow is preparing to travel to its target. In the blink of an eye, a golden arrow lit up the sky, and then it split into hundreds of other arrows that rained down on the goblins. However, it wasn't just that arrow. Other hunters also joined the battlefield. The Lu Feng grew, and the other hunters were quite satisfied with their plan to use the rookies as bait, even though they felt a little uncomfortable. Lin Chen was observing their behavior and movements from behind a tree, apparently using her power of invisibility. He disliked those who were so cunning as to take advantage of the forest environment and other hunters for their own ends. Unfortunately, Lin Tian is currently in monster form, so he can't enter the city of Manhwa. Of course, if Lin Tian wasn't in his monster mode, he could easily help the Burra Hunter's mission. Of course, this will help Lin Tian easily sniff out intruders, but chasing innocent people is not his style. These people, they were a different story. They were the kind of people who would mess with their own comrades just to get ahead. Lin Tian had dealt with these types before, but every time I brought it up, the superiors brushed it off like it was no big deal. Lin Tian had tried to tell the company that the people recruited by Liu Daolong were criminals. Lin Tian was angry at Liu Daolong for this reason. He asked him to dismiss Team 2 for committing unreasonable violence. They only went into the jungle to avoid punishment in the sweet world, but it was Liu Daolong's fault that he recruited them and let them roam the jungle as a team of adventurers under the direct supervision of Liu Daolong. But Liu Daolong's response was only a smile, much to Lin Tian's annoyance. But Lin Tian didn't accept it. Liu Daolong, who pretended to be stupid, acted as if he didn't know what Lin Tian was talking about. He even dared to suggest to Lin Tian to call the police if I thought they were doing something unkind. Long story short, these people are scum. They even had a hand in the chaos that led to her death. So it's fine if Lin Tan wants to finish them off, there's no need to think. There's no moral burden for him if he manages to kill those criminals. But here's the thing, they had some heavy hitters in their team, some of whom reached level 13. And their boss, Luo Feng, he was a level 15 berserker. Speaking of the other members who were generally at level 10, they were all cold-blooded villains, ready to take out the enemy without a second thought. So our hero Lin Tan has been rushing to level up very quickly. But even after doing all those missions, he's still stuck at level 10. And since harnessing the will of monsters is forbidden, joining a group of people whose level is higher than his is still too risky. But luckily in the previous missions, after completing those missions he earned some points, which could unlock the stealth function. This sneaky move allowed him to creep up on them undetected and start planning his next move. Plus, those daily missions were gold mines, offering more than just jungle points. Now it was up to him to complete them, with a little help from a friendly mushroom friend. High above the forest, a bird hovers, keeping an eye on everything below. But with over 70% of the area covered in fog, it was difficult for his spirit pet to see clearly. Lu Feng told it to come down and observe the situation under the fog, but it didn't want to. If the spirit pet got too close to the mountain valley, the pet would be in danger and could be attacked by monsters. But Mr. Lu Feng did not hear her. He was determined to do as he said, or he would annihilate her himself if she was useless. The little girl wanted to surrender not without consequences, but she and her spirit beast became one. And when an arrow appeared out of nowhere, hitting said spirit pet in the blink of an eye, the girl was also wounded and bleeding. But Lu Feng didn't care about the girl. He only cared about one thing. Did he see anything useful? Luckily, she saw something useful, so she was spared from Lu Feng's threat to finish her off. The girl told him that she saw where the dungeon was. Lu Feng wasted no time after finding out where the dungeon was. He rushed to gather troops to head straight to the valley.